Everywhere I look when trying to find the best MMOs, whether it's an online article or YouTube creators like Lazy Peon, I just see the same 5 games. And it's not because they're the best, it's just because they're the most popular ones. And I'm tired of it. So I wanted to test that, because if population really means quality, then the best MMO should have the best starting zones, right? But why does that even matter? Because today I'm going to be ranking 12 different starting zones from 3 different games, from high population to low population, to see if higher population actually means better game. And make sure you stick around to the end, because I had to go back and fix it once I realized I got the winner completely wrong. So we're going to start first with Durotar. I don't think I ever played an MMO before World of Warcraft. I think Durotar was my first one that I ever played. And a lot of people, I think that it's not that great. Like, I think Elwyn Forest had more time put into it, and Durotar was rushed, is what I've heard. I'm not sure how true that is. So looking into it more, it's been speculated that Durotar was rushed due to the look of it, but it was actually designed that way intentionally. The rocky and harsh environment was to be reflective of the struggle of survival for the orcs and to help distinguish it from the Alliance Zone. So I was wrong. However, for me, I think Durotar, and everywhere that you go through, you start off in the Valley of Trials, which everything has their little mini starting zone within their starting zone, but you get to go to Sinjin Village. You go to Razor Hill. You go through the canyon area there. There's so much good stuff that you do, and so many different enemy types. You go into, what's it called? Northwatch Hold. You go fight some Colterans there. Just a lot of cool stuff. I think it's a great aesthetic. I love like the canyony, deserty kind of looking area, and I don't feel like that's something you get a lot. You get some deserty areas, but you don't get a lot like this right here. So it's very unique in its art style. And then like going into Orgrimmar, I don't want to count the capital cities into this, but just in general, I think it's a very unique and interesting aesthetic that I don't think you really see too much in other games, aside from Warhammer, where World of Warcraft pretty much stole all of its aesthetics from. So for me personally, and now is the disclaimer here, is that my list is not, you're not going to agree with my list, and that's fine. Argue with me in the comments about it, because this is going to be a video, so argue with me about it. I don't care. You're not going to like it. Good. Come tell me why I'm wrong, because I'm putting Durotar at an A. Now this list will be adjusted as we go, or at the end of it. Right now, we're just going to put everywhere where my initial gut feeling says it should be. And to me, Durotar is an A. I think it's not the best, but it's a really good starting zone. Next one, we'll just go straight into Wayfarer Foothills, which is like a snowy region. Wayfarer Foothills is the starting zone of the Nords. Is it Nords? No, it's Norn. Nord is Elder Scrolls. The Norns in Guild Wars 2. And I think it's a great zone. One of the cool things about it is once you get out in, like, the starting area is really cool. It's like a foresty, like foothills kind of area, and it's very nice. And then you go into the more cold, snowy region once you kind of branch out of there, which I don't like as much. Snow zones, for whatever reason, I don't tend to like them that much. But this one is done very well, and it feels like a very big like landscape when you get out into it. And there's a lot of different stuff going on, a lot of cool quest lines, getting into like Norn lore, just dynamic events in general just makes Guild Wars 2 zones feel that much better. Jumping puzzles, all kinds of extra things. I can't think of any specific jumping puzzles this one has, but just aesthetically and quest lines. There's one where you're catching, event quests where you're catching kegs that a guy's throwing out. There's a world boss here, which I think all of the starting zones that except for maybe Caledon Forest, I think a lot of the starting zones, but it's a good zone. It just really comes down to the game itself and the aesthetics of it, or whether you want to rank it high or low. For me right now, I'm gonna say Wayfarer Foothills is probably it's between a B and a C. I don't love it, but I don't, and the reason I'm even considering it into a C is because I don't think really anything's gonna hit a D here today, maybe one. And so I want to keep things spread out to be as specific as possible. For now, yeah, I'd say it's a B. So I'm gonna leave it in B for right now, and we'll see how we adjust it later on. So let's go into the first Lord of the Rings zone, which we'll do Breeland. Now, Breeland is the human starting zone. It's a big iconic area within Lord of the Rings, and that's one of the benefits that Lord of the Rings has is not only Lord of the Rings in general, the landscaping and the recreation of Tolkien's universe. It's the best version of Middle Earth that you can find anywhere. Period. Like there's not a better version of it. And if you ever want to go and experience Bree Land, this is going to be the best way to do it. I love big, lush, green, foresty areas, and this is not very foresty. That has foresty areas, and one of the great things about it is just the landscape in general of their zones it's some of the best landscapes I've played in any MMO. The world itself, graphically, may not be the best, but the world itself is the best designed. It's the most fun and enjoyable to be in, and it's an open world. It's a true open world, unlike something like Guild Wars 2. But there's so much, and I've leveled through every single one of these zones, some of them multiple times. Breland, it's been a while since I've really dug into it, but there's so many different varied landscapes within this. You have swamp areas with midwater marshes. You have, I can't remember the forest area is called, but there's a forest area there. You even, I believe you go into the old forest where Tom Bombadil is within Breland, and then you have Bree itself, which is like just an iconic city. There's so many good things about this area visually, as well as just lore-wise. There's so much deep stuff here to go and enjoy. And then the questing in here, I can't remember anything that's so great, but something about Lord of the Rings is you do get to feel like that adventure just going out and helping people. That definitely comes through a lot with Lord of the Rings in general. And for me, I'm going to rate Bree an A. Thinking about it right now, it's hard. Like, I'm not gonna move one over the other right now, but I'm just trying to figure out whether I agree with this. But like, yeah, I think I like Bree more than I do Durotar, so I think A is fine. I'm happy with that right now. So let's go into another WoW one. Let's do something that's gonna be a bit controversial. Tearsfall Glades, hate it. Not a big fan of Tearsfall Glades. It's probably the least played zone that I have. I'm just not into the undeady zombie, sort of aesthetic that they have there. There's a lot of cool stuff, but it's just very boring. The quest lines, like you're just killing zombies as a zombie, and then you're killing humans, and it's just. I mean, you get into some. I think you get into some of the werewolves and Argyle stuff. It's just not that exciting for me, and the aesthetic, I don't care too much for it. So, I honestly want to put it in a D tier, but I know a lot of people are going to get real mad about that because I know a lot of people love Tearsfall Glades. I know Undercity is a very cool and interesting city. The lore behind it all is great, but just playing it is just it's probably the second to most dull World of Warcraft starting zone for me in Classic WoW. I'll put it in a C right now, but this might be one that I may change as I'm going through here before I even get to the end of it. So with Tearsfall Glades, it's fine. It's okay. Next, let's see. We'll do another Guild Wars 2. Let's do Plains of Ashford, which is, to me, it's the closest to Guild Wars 2's equivalent to Tearsfall Glades, because you have a lot of ghosts and stuff like that. One of the things that Guild Wars 2 definitely does is like you have specific enemies in each zone, especially the starting zones. Like you get early on, like this is what this race's enemies are. Like for humans, it's bandits, and for Char, it's the Ghost of Ascalon. And I love the color and aesthetic of it all. It's like a plainsy, kind of like reminds you of Westfall, but then there's all this industrialization happening from the Char, which is kind of juxtaposed to it all. And then you got these like creepy kind of like not necessarily graveyards, but it's where all the ghosts and stuff are, where it gets a little bit gloomier and darker there. I think it's a good zone altogether. I think to me, honestly, if Wayfarer Foothills is a B, then Plains of Ashford has to be a B. It honestly makes me want to drop Wayfarer Foothills down one. I'm going to hold off on that. We'll just kind of recalibrate at the end. But Plains of Ashford, I've leveled through it a few times. It's been a while. I'm trying to think of anything that really stands out. I don't remember any necessarily great jumping puzzles or any... I don't have Matrika Province on here. Now that I'm kind of going over this, I probably should have Matrika Province over some of these, but because Matrika Province, I think, is a better better zone as far as the things that you can do in it. I just wanted to cut in here real quick and say that the reason I didn't have Matrika Province on this list is because I actually like Caledon Forest better. So if you're a Guild Wars 2 fan and you're worried about the placing you're gonna get a better placing because I didn't add it, despite the fact that everybody likes Matrika Province more. So there you go. But Plains of Ashford, aesthetically, it's great. I very much enjoy it. I enjoy the aesthetics of Plains of Ashford more than Wayfarer Foothills, but I think I enjoy the dynamic events and stuff that happens in Wayfarer Foothills more than Plains of Ashford. So Foothills more fun, Plains of Ashford better looking. But yeah, B. I don't think it's anything crazy. There's nothing, but I feel like it's kind of like with a lot of their zones. I think it really comes down to whether you like the aesthetics of it or not. But yeah, so let's go into the next Lord of the Rings zone. Let's go ahead and do Swan Fleet. Get it out of the way. Swan Fleet is the newest zone. I've only kind of went through it. I'll be honest, this is the only one that I haven't fully completed. And just a little bit of time I spent there. So what Swan Fleet to me is a more, I guess, modern, streamlined version of a starting zone for Lord of the Rings. And they've done a really good job in it. The area, it looks really good. Like, it's a mix, like it has like a kind of like red rock kind of mountains and stuff like that. You can't really see it too much here. But it's like, it's great visually. I love the colors, just like the greens and like the orange and reds coming together. Again, Lord of the Rings landscapes are amazing. But like the initial like quest, it gets very simple questing like you'd have in WoW. Just go here, kill that, go here, kill that. But it felt better. It wasn't confusing. You knew what you were doing, and it was really easy to kind of navigate and go through the areas that I went through. And I would say, unless you want to go in and experience the Shire, or you want to go in and experience Bree or whatever zone it might be, Swan Fleet is going to be the best experience in Lord of the Rings starting out as a new player. It's going to be the most easiest, user experience that you're going to have, and I think that's exactly what it was built for. And it's a good zone. It's beautiful. It looks good, and I think it does a great job of what it's supposed to be. But at the same time, as far as like the depths of it, I don't know how much anything special is about it. I want to put it at an A right now, because I think it is definitely one of, if not the best zones in Lord of the Rings. I don't want to say the best, because it's just so hard to beat Bree or the Shire. But I feel like, gameplay wise, or, if you don't know anything about Lord of the Rings and you go into this, you're probably going to like Swan Fleet more. But yeah, so I'm going to put it at an A for right now. And let's go and see the next World of Warcraft zone. We're going to do Dunmorrow, and I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time here. This is definitely going to be a C as well with Tears Fall Glades. It's whenever I said there's only one more zone that's more dull and boring than that, it's Dunmorrow. I love dwarves. Dwarves are my favorite sort of aesthetic within MMOs or RPGs in general. The Iron Forge is cool. Other than that, it's just you're just in the mountains fucking killing. It's just there's nothing exciting about it, nothing visually interesting. You're just in the mountain, and maybe that's why I don't like snowy regions in general, because at the end of the day, you're just in the mountains, and it's all white. It's just there's no visual diversity or anything like that. And I know that a lot of people out there are gonna hate this, and they love the mountainy regions. I don't care for them, and there's just nothing particularly that stands out about this zone that I can think of. Like, I know I've went through here. The biggest thing I can think of is there's a polar bear there named Bjorn. It's a mob that's what is the word for it? It's not an elite mob, but a rare mob that you can get as a hunter, and you can get a cool, unique polar bear early. I used to, whenever I play Horde, if I ever played a Horde hunter, I would always go here and try to tame this, because then I'm in the Horde leveling zones, and I have Bjorn, the polar bear, the only polar bear you can get at that level, which is always cool to have. So that's like the coolest, most interesting thing. You do have I don't know if Mechanome or Nomergon or Nomerangan, however you want to pronounce it. I think that might be in Dunmore. Is that true? Another thing I wanted to mention, and if I don't say it, people are going to murder me down in the comments, is that Tearsfall Glade has Scarlet Monasteries. Obviously, it's like one of the best set of dungeons in any MMO, period. And a lot of people would probably rank Cheersfall Glades much higher simply because of that fact. And I agree with you. However, for me, it's not going to change the listing. It's still going to be just right above Dunmorrow or wherever I have it right now on the list. That's spoilers. But yeah, you can go ahead and murder me in the comments now. I think it is there. So that's definitely... Gnomeregan's a cool-ass dungeon. It's one that I didn't do enough, or I think really any whenever I was leveling in WoW before like later expansions and stuff. I probably didn't touch this till after Wrath of the Lich King, maybe. Yeah, it's in Dunmore, which is kind of crazy that they have a level 2938 zone in this starting zone, but it's just, you know, within the lore, it's really cool. So, I mean, that's definitely a big plus for them. Also, like, you have the certain gnome outposts, which kind of acts as kind of like similar to how the Char being in Plains of Ashford and being able to juxtapose the scenery by being this, you know, industrialization kind of thing. You have the similar sort of thing with like the steampunky kind of gnome mechanisms, whatever, with the gnome stuff that they have there, architecture and everything. So that's pretty good. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the most exciting thing I can think of right now is a bear that you can get early level, which is awesome. And Gnomeregan, which, you know, that's not even a starting zone thing. You just come back to there later for it. Ironforge is cool, but we're not gonna try. I'm not gonna let that influence my decision on these. So far, we have no S's. Let's go into Caledon Forest with Guild Wars 2. And like I said, I like foresty regions. Something about this, like, this is a forest. I mean, it's Caledon Forest, but for me, Caledon Forest, it's not, I like a dense forest, and it doesn't really feel that dense. It feels more like a segmented jungle, sort of. It's a very cool zone. It's definitely different than the others. It's not like I wouldn't call it like a foresty green feeling kind of zone, but it's like a bright bioluminescent kind of zone, and it's very cool and interesting looking. It's unique. They have some jumping puzzles and stuff in there. It's definitely a fun zone. I think, you know, right now, if you ask me, Wayfair Foothills, Plains of Ashford, or Caledon Forest, which zone would you rather go? And this is kind of where like the gut feeling comes from. Which zone out of these would I want to play? I'm going to pick Caledon Forest over Wayfair Foothills and Plains of Ashford. It's just visually, it's more fun. What they're going against is less interesting, I feel like, as an enemy. They go against the Nightmare Court, which is just, it's kind of like humans going against bandits. They're going against the bad people version of the Sylvari there. But it's a fun zone. You know, I wish I did more of the personal story and had that fresher in my head or in my mind, because that would have fluids, you know, what makes these zones good and stuff too, I think, a little bit more. But Caledon Forest is fun. I've enjoyed the times that I've leveled through there. I would look forward to going here more, and it's probably just an aesthetic thing. Again, it's not like a dense forest, but it's a unique kind of foresty jungle area that I very much enjoy. So I'm happy putting that at an A for sure. Like, you know, do I want to play Durotar or do I want to play Caledon Forest? It's going to be a toss-up. I would rather play Caledon Forest. Yeah, so I think Caledon Forest fits at an A. I don't think that would be that controversial. Next, we have another Lord of the Rings one. Let's go ahead and do the Shire now, because I've been saving the best for last, but it turns out that's kind of sort of what's happened, sort of. But yeah, so the Shire, it's obvious. Shire is going to be S tier, man. Shire is just the way the Shire makes you feel like a hobbit is great. Like, you just feel like carefree. You're delivering pies to people. You know, just, it's such a unique aesthetic that you only see in things that have been interpretations of the Shire. You know, you got the hobbit holes and everything. It's a lush green hill area. There's dense forests. That's one of the great things about Lord of the Rings zones in general, is it's so jam-packed with all kinds of different stuff, because the zones themselves feel vast and huge. The landscape is sprawling, like, it's so hilly, and then you got this, it's like different zones within zones. And even some of them, like in Breland, there's literally the Old Forest is a zone within the zone. The Shire is one of the best experiences I've had. They have marshes there, they have denser forests like this. It's like almost like a Midwestern, like tall, like huge, thick trees, like in the back area of it. You get to go through a lot of iconic places. Just being able to go to Hobbiton and go why can't I think of what Bilbo's home was called? That makes me sad. I can't think of what that is. Bag Inn. Yeah, so you can go to Bag Inn and you see his relatives up there. What's her name? God, I'm blanking on everything, but his aunt or cousin or whoever who takes claim of it, they're up there sitting there because in the storyline, Frodo and Bilbo have already left with the Fellowship. Bilbo's not with the Fellowship, but if you know the story, you know what I'm talking about. They've already left, and so they've already taken the Shire over, or Bag End over, going to just it's such a good zone. It's so much fun. You get to go to Farmer Maggot's farm, and you can do quests over there, and there's farmlands, and then there's lush hills, and it's such a good zone. It's so beautiful, and it feels very it's very immersive. And if you love the idea of what Hobbit life is in the Shire, you're not going to get anywhere better than this. And I think it's literally not only the starting zone of this game, it's the starting zone of what I would consider to be the beginning of all modern fantasy. The Shire is where it all began in Lord of the Rings, where it all began in The Hobbit. And then from that story, I think you extrapolate and you get to where we are now. And this is a great, accurate representation of what that feels like. And that, to me, makes it an S tier zone because it gets the fantasy of everything you want when you think about fantasy. And it's still unique and interesting in a way that nothing else, even imitations, can't capture. It's a great zone. Best zone. I would go here. I have to make myself go to the other zones in Lord of the Rings, which are great as well, because I've already leveled here so many times. Anything I level, I go to the Shire to do it. I have to stop myself. So yes, I would absolutely go back and level in the Shire. Let's do Guild Wars 2 next. We're going to do Queensdale. And Queensdale, to me, is my favorite starting zone. It's very like basic bitch. You like the green areas. I like the aesthetics of Queensdale because it's not like, Elwyn Forest. It's not a big foresty area. It's kind of like the Shire, sort of, where it's just like a big open plainsy area. They have a lot of cool stuff, like having the windmill. Like you kind of see it here, like the windmill and the river system here. There's like an orchard and stuff. It's just like a lived in, like it's exactly what you would imagine in a fantasy, like medieval kind of fantasy area of the village and town area right outside of the big city, which is what this is exactly. And I think they nail it aesthetically. You have cool dungeon there. You have what's his name? I forgot. You got Ascalonian Catacombs and Plains of Ashford. Caduceus' Manor, yeah, which he later on in the game becomes like a bigger villain, but it's just a big manor. It's a really cool dungeon to have. Quick note I want to add in here as well. I forgot to mention the Shadow Behemoth. The Shadow Behemoth in Queensdale is nothing special as far as the world boss goes, but as a new player coming in there, especially if you're a curious new player, you'll see a lot of players gathering around in the swamps, and you're wondering what's going on over here. So you go to check it out, and then boom! Out of nowhere, this literal Shadow Behemoth bursts out of the ground and out of the swamps. And it's such a cool experience to see as a new player, and you can actually contribute to it. So that's another reason why, for me, Queensdale does so well in this list. Just visually, aesthetically, I think there's other zones that do things similarly, but I don't think any of them execute as well as what I think Queensdale does, as far as being like this this like outside of the city. I don't know how to explain it. Like outside of the major city, it's like what I think about a medieval fantasy of like just the farmland area outside of it. And I think Queensdale does. It's like, again, it's kind of like the Shire, but imagine the Shire if there was a big, huge, sprawling city, and this was like at the foot of the city. Queensdale, yeah, definitely A tier. Queensdale, probably my favorite zone, the one I go to the most to level characters. And yeah, I just think it's a very good zone. I would probably, with the things up here, rather do Bree. I'd probably do Queensdale over Durotar. So we'll adjust that as we go. So we have Elwyn Forest and Erd Luin first. I'm gonna go ahead and do Erd Luin. I've always called Erd Luane. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but this one is going to be the first D tier zone that we have. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it for the similar reasons that I hate Dunmorrow, except it's just less enjoy. It's something that ruins this zone for me. It's something that makes the other zones so great. Is that, you know, Bree, the Shire, it's these huge, expansive like landscapes that you have that are just feel so sprawling and great. You have that with Erd Luane, but it's just all big snowy mountains and stuff like that. It's not fun. It's not. There's no variety. There's a little bit of variety there, and even like the mountain. And I hate to say it because I'm not shitting on Tolkien, because Tolkien's the best, man. He created everything, but at least the recreation of it, no matter how accurate it is, it's not as cool. The city here is not as cool as Ironforge, but we're not. I keep bringing up the cities, but we're not talking about the cities. But it's just nothing about it is even better than Dunmorrow. It's not as fun. It's like it's just huge and empty, and you're fighting a lot of, you know, other dwarves. It's just like, oh, it's a slog to get through, man. I just not a fan of it. Didn't enjoy it. I think I've leveled through it once for the sake of leveling through it, maybe twice, but it's not a zone I would want to go through again, and definitely out of the Lord of the Rings starting zones, it's the worst in my opinion. So yeah, I think it earns the D tier, and honestly, if that was an F tier, if I added the F tier, I'd probably drop Dunmorrow. I'd probably drop Tearsfall Glade. I think I actually like Dunmorrow better than Tearsfall Glade after talking about a couple things that it has there, but that's just nostalgia talking. But I think Erd would drop down to the F tier for me, but we only got a D tier, so let's go ahead and do the last one. And you can definitely say save the best for last, because I mean, you know, like I said, like the Shire, we'll go ahead and put it in S tier. We'll put it right here. The Shire, the Elwyn Forest, man, it's like how I was saying, Caledon Forest is, or not Caledon, Queensdale is kind of like the quintessential like farm village outside. I had to stop myself from saying Farmville. The farm village outside of the city. Like this is kind of like the foresty town settlement area. Like whenever I think of fantasy and where your beginnings come from within a fantasy world, like Elwyn Forest is like an 8 or 9 out of 10 as to what I perfectly imagine. And I can say like it's definitely nostalgia for me as well. But it's not fully that, because Durotar was where I first started, and maybe that's why it grades so highly for me. But Elwyn Forest, like a mix of Elwyn Forest and Queensdale would be perfect, but it's not there. But Elwyn Forest is damn near perfect, and there's so much stuff going on and so much lore and story that starts here. Like you can tell this is the zone that they put the most time and effort into. Like the whole time you're going through there. I mean, I did a whole video going through the whole story. Like, it's like I know Elwyn Forest better than I know any of these. I'm not going to bog down too much with the details, but there's just so much happening here. You know, you got the Defias and that storyline that goes on. You're constantly dealing with Cobalt. There's so many threats and things that you're having to combat while you're going through here. So just story-wise, it's great. Goldshire is, you know, call it infamous or what, but like, you know, you think of the RP that's happened there, the erotic role playing that happens on Moongard or any of these servers. There's just so much that happens in this zone has happened here. It's just so hard. It's just so iconic and it's so perfect. And like in the video that I had, it's the quintessential starting zone. Like this, I think, is the metric you go off of when creating a starting zone. Do I think there could be better? Like I said, it's like an 8 or 9 out of 10. It could be better, but I think this is the best starting zone that's ever been created in any MMO. And there's been a lot of MMOs, a lot of WoW clones where they tried to recreate it and they've failed. That is the best. So this, let's go through now. Yeah, Elwyn Forest S, 100%. Let's go through and try to adjust some of these a little bit. Let's pick the winners and losers. I think, you know, winner wise, we got these here, Caledon Forest, Queensdale, Swanfleet. I really think, I mean, but Lord of the Rings is way down here. I think the average of best zones is gonna be Guild Wars 2, which that honestly surprised me. So I'd say Guild Wars 2 wins overall, and Lord of the Rings is second, and then WoW is last, despite having the best zone overall. As I said in the beginning, I realized I got the winner completely wrong. When I went back and added a value for each of the tiers, 5 points for S, 4 points for A, all the way down to 1 point for D, we see a much different picture. WoW ends up coming out with 12 points, Lord of the Rings Online has 14, and Guild Wars 2 ties Lord of the Rings with 14 as well. So it actually ended up being pretty close with Guild Wars and Lord of the Rings tying. But to find the definitive winner, I just went back and compared how each zone performed in the tiers. And each Lord of the Rings zone beats the Guild Wars 2 zones until you get all the way down to the end where Wayfarer Foothills beats Arid Luane. So there you have it. When I average it all out, Lord of the Rings Online comes out on top, Guild Wars 2 comes in second, and World of Warcraft comes in last, despite having the best overall starting zone. So that tells me what I already knew. You should ignore the top 5 list and play the MMO you like best, not the one that's most popular. So thank you all for watching, and continue to explore indoors. See ya.